Hi, I'm Larry Richman. For the next few moments, we're going to be talking about drive pointers. Drive pointers are nothing more than letters assigned to reference different directories or subdirectories where files can be stored. Both DOS and NetWare use drive pointers to move quickly to these areas, but drive pointers are used a little differently in DOS than in NetWare. DOS drive pointers refer to local devices on a workstation by assigning them letters of the alphabet. A: typically points to the first floppy drive. B: to the second floppy. C, D, and E may refer to various hard disks or to parts or partitions on a single hard disk. A partition is a physical portion of one hard disk. It can be compared to NetWare's volume. This basic drive structure should be familiar to you. Normally, if you wanted to access the customer subdirectory, you would type cd /sales /Debbie /customer, then return. That's 22 keystrokes just to reach the directory you're after. But by assigning this path a network pointer, we'll say Q:, you can accomplish the same thing with just 3 keystrokes. This saves a lot of time and makes the network far easier to use. In a moment, we'll show you how to set up drive mappings. Directories which store data files and directories which contain executable files like applications are usually kept separate on the NetWare directory structure. The two types of directories are also referenced by different kinds of NetWare drive pointers. That way you have simultaneous access to files in both directories. The two kinds of drive pointers are network drive pointers and search drive pointers. A network drive pointer, sometimes called a regular pointer, is used to access user-created data files. To use it, you must be in the directory it references. You move to the directory by simply typing the pointer at the prompt. Search pointers allow a user located in a data directory to access executable files located in another directory. Search pointers shouldn't be used for data-only files, but for executable files. That is, files which determine the operation of an application or command. The map utility is really quite easy to use. It assigns search and network drive pointers to directories. Now let's talk about Map Next. Map Next tells NetWare to assign the path you specify to the next available drive, whatever it is. This way you don't have to remember or look up the drives you've already assigned. Here's how it works. Brad Peterson is a professional. His profession is selling cars, Subaru cars. Brad's been selling Subaru vehicles for the past 3 years. He's good at what he does. He uses the phone as a sales tool to assist him in attaining his main goal, selling cars. At any moment, the phone could ring at Brad's desk. That means someone needs information. It could be someone he knows, a former customer. It could also be someone he doesn't know, or a customer's friend who likes Subaru vehicles, or possibly a former dealership customer ready to re-enter the market. But most likely it will be a call from someone Brad has never talked with before. In any case, it's an incoming call, and quite possibly Brad's next sale. There it is now. Let's listen in on Brad's conversation as he answers this incoming call. Brad is a real sales professional. He's learned his trade well. He took control of the call the instant he picked up the phone. He made sure to give his name, asked some preliminary qualifying questions, obtained the prospect's name and phone number, and set up an appointment. Now let's go back and take a look at a true professional at work.
Good morning, sales department. This is Brad Peterson.
Brad has made sure to give his name last, prior to the prospect speaking. This way, being the last thing Brad said, it has a better chance of being remembered. And you certainly want the prospect to remember your name. The next thing Brad does is to reinforce the prospect's choice of Subaru vehicle and establish call control by asking one simple question.
That's great. The Legacy is probably the best overall value in the entire Subaru line. And in order for me to give you complete and accurate information, I'd like to ask you a few questions. That's fair enough, isn't it?
Brad can now go on to ask some basic qualifying questions.
obtaining information about his prospect while at the same time getting the prospect accustomed to answering questions, all leading up to asking for the caller's name and phone number. Now, Brad has also found out some useful information. The prospect is married, has 2 children, and will use the car for pleasure. Even though the prospect has not said it, with 2 children, safety should be an important consideration. I'm sure early in his sales presentation this evening, Brad will talk about the extra measure of safety afforded by the Subaru Legacy, especially if the children are present. Brad could talk about features like the child safety rear door locks, or the rear passenger restraint system, or even the steel door beams. Now, not every prospect will be willing to give you their name and phone number. So let's look at a technique Brad uses with the reluctant caller. What Brad is doing is planning his incoming call. Now, that may sound strange, planning an incoming call. You can certainly plan an outgoing call, but how do you plan an incoming call? It's simple. Just do as Brad does. Plan to take control. Know your control questions. And use Subaru product information to reinforce the caller's choice. Chances are Chuck will not be very successful with his outgoing telephone calls if he continues to do what he's doing. He'll get dejected, and he'll continue to lose his enthusiasm for making outgoing calls because he's not received proper training. Now, let's look at Brad Peterson, a professional Subaru salesperson in every sense of the word. Brad knows how important telephone skills can be in developing new business on his own, business that he brings in himself. Let's observe Brad as he calls a potential prospect off a competitive make owners list. Brad's a true Subaru sales professional who knows that he needs to take control of each call by having an organized game plan. Now, further on in the conversation, Brad was able to confirm an appointment with Mr. Johnson, but not before he encountered a stiff price inquisition as to the trade-in value of Mr. Johnson's '87 Sentra. Let's see how Brad handles this delicate matter. The idea is to keep it simple and general and to get an appointment. Why is it so important to get that appointment? Well, a recent survey indicates that 48% of the business available to your dealership is originated via the incoming telephone call to the sales department. Incoming callers represent a tremendous source of potential buyers. Furthermore, research tells us that your closing ratio jumps to 58% for those prospects who come into your dealership via a preset appointment by you, the salesperson. When you consider that the average closing ratio is only 14% for those cold-up prospects that walk in and shop, how smart is it to spend the majority of your time waiting on the showroom floor for a 14% chance to close the sale? Why spend so much time on those prospects who research says most likely will not buy? Don't gamble with your future. Play the percentages. Work on cultivating phone prospects into satisfied Subaru owners. You should be spending the bulk of your time converting those phone calls into appointments. When you do, you'll watch your sales soar. That's what Brad does. The incoming call represents a definite sales opportunity for you. You can use it to your advantage as Brad does, or you can look upon it as a nuisance. One way makes you money. The other way just wastes your time. But in either case, you've got to answer the phone. You might just as well make it pay off for you. It's for you. Like our horizontally opposed engine, multi-point fuel injection, our 4-channel anti-lock braking system available on certain legacy models, standard 4-wheel disc brakes, the ignition off headlights off system, standard hill holder feature with our 5-speed manual transmission, distributorless ignition, electronic engine management system, 4-wheel independent suspension, power-assisted rack and pinion steering,